You ready?
Yep.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Geek Spot!
Geek Spot!
Party time! Excellent! Woo, 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 woo! Never gets old, does it?
No, it does.
What's going on, guys? It's Sean Caspian and
Sandra D.
Thanks for joining us here, and thanks for waiting on us come back. Took a little bit of a break there.
Yeah, a little long Labor Day.
Long Labor Day. We missed you guys, so thanks for coming back. So yeah, what's going on in the geeky world today?
Well, biggest news right now is Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Premiered last week. Second episode of a two-parter was last night. We saw the return of Davros, the creator of the Daleks, who has come back to taunt the Doctor in his final hours.
Oh, wow.
Missy, our newly reincarnated master, is also back in her I'm evil, but I'm not evil because I'm still a Time Lord role.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. And we got Capaldi play an electric guitar while riding a tank in a gladiator arena. You're not going to top that.
Oh, that's just kick-ass. Woo, woo, woo!
I would definitely say last season was pretty sketchy with Doctor Who. One or two phenomenal episodes, one or two what were the writers on when they wrote it, and they really need to stop taking that.
See, I actually have not seen any of Capaldi's stuff. I'm actually kind of super behind. I haven't even seen Matt Smith, so that's because Tennant leaving broke my heart.
Well, I think it broke everybody's heart. Smith was... some people really adopted Smith. He was their Doctor. I'm with you. Tennant leaving. The Ponds were great.
Yeah.
I just couldn't really get into Smith. Capaldi, he's so different, and I love him.
Yeah, you dig?
I really dig him. He's got a lot of new things to offer the role. He's an older man, more crotchety. We haven't seen that since the reincarnation. Even Nine, with all his sass, didn't really cross into crotchety.
Like I've heard that he's actually kind of a dick.
As a doctor? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. The whole premise of last season was, am I a good man or not? And the answer kind of was no.
Okay.
No, he was a lot meaner, a lot more callous. It wasn't the happy-go-lucky, carefree doctor we had with Tennant and with Smith.
Interesting.
And I think that was part of the problem is, while Jenna Coleman has done a phenomenal job as Clara, I just don't think she and Capaldi have the chemistry needed. She comes across like a school marm trying to rein in a wayward student.
Okay. Now, she's kind of on the way out, too, is the rumor, right?
This will be her last season. She's then going to play Queen Victoria in apparently some $1 million BBC drama.
Super cool.
So I'm very interested to see who they replace her with. I think at this point in time they need more of a Donna. They need someone who's going to give him what for without pandering to him.
Somebody that'll kind of keep up with, because he's kind of a little bit of an asshat. Somebody that'll keep up with that a little bit. Oh, God, if they brought Donna in there.
That would be... I'm not sure how well he'd mesh with Catherine Tate. But that type of character, I think, would just be brilliant. Although right now, he and Missy, I mean, I would watch the two of them in the TARDIS.
I gotta catch up. I really do. I love Doctor Who for everything it is, but I seriously just gotta catch up.
Well, and I still need to watch last night's episode because it was a two-parter episode that apparently, so you have Davros as a child, and his world's in the middle of a war, and he's about to die. The Doctor is the one who saves him, not realizing it's young Davros.
Oh, really?
And Davros now as an old man is taunting the Doctor with that decision.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the Doctor then has the choice, does he go back and destroy the child before he becomes the man, and let the Daleks free? I mean, but that changes everything. If he destroys Davros, you have no Daleks, you have no Time War, you have no missing Gallifrey.
Right.
History has basically been rewritten for the entirety of the last, 9 years?
Yeah. And I mean, I saw the previews for the current season, and it looks pretty epic. It looks like they're really, they really know where they're going with Capaldi these days. So I am interested to see it. I think it does look pretty cool.
It's a throwback, I think. Just a different kind of Doctor Who, and it's kind of been fun to watch.
That's awesome. So one of the big topics this week is the notion that the voice actors for video games are petitioning to possibly strike through the Screen Actors Guild. So basically what's happening is a lot of the voiceover people for video games, Wil Wheaton's kind of one of the big voices for this movement right now. They're saying, hey, you know, things are kind of crappy for us, and you know, so we might strike. So they're not striking yet, but they're basically authorizing the union, or they're trying to get enough people to authorize the union, which I think needs like 75% or something.
I think something like that.
And if 75% of the actors say, yeah, go ahead and strike, then the union has the power to strike. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will.
It depends on what the negotiations do.
It depends on that. And one of the biggest gripes that they're talking about is that, first off, no negotiations will happen right now. I guess the studios won't even talk. They won't even come to the table with anything. I read a lot about this, though, and I think it's really interesting. So it's a lot of point-counterpoint. It's really tough to see where the truth lies in all this stuff, because you know, you got the actors saying, well, the studios won't even come to the table to talk. Like, we just want to talk, we want to see where we can go. And the studios are like, because it's about money. And so I think that's really interesting, because money is part of the deal. They're really kind of complaining about working conditions and things like that, but they're also asking for things like residuals from voice acting in video games. Which is interesting. It happens a lot in the rest of the industry, but it doesn't really happen for anybody in the video game industry except the studio, right? The programmers, the lead designers, the graphic artists, all those people, nobody gets that, and so I just think it's a really interesting thing. It's causing some volatile situations.
Well, and so I was reading up on it the other day, and I think they have good points in some cases. Other ones may be a little more gray. The residuals, especially since it hasn't been an issue in video games up till now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, look at a cartoon.
Right.
The voice actors will get residuals in a cartoon where the animators don't.
Yep.
It's just the nature of the beast if you've got a good negotiator.
Yep.
And so I think maybe then that would come back to how much voiceover work are you doing?
Right.
Because if you're just sitting there going, go, 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 shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. I'm not really sure that that's going to qualify you for a residual.
And you know, it's interesting too, because like a voice actor will show up maybe, you know, depending on what they're doing, like for like you said, like for a day session.
Yeah.
Right. So they'll just show up for that single day and do their deal. You know, and should they get residuals? Maybe. One of the good points to that, though, is they're saying that they're only asking for more if a game hits a certain mark. Yeah. Right. So they're not saying, hey, just pay me forever no matter what. You know, a game. I think they were asking for like 2 million copies or more, something like that.
So you're looking at your Halos, your Call of Duties.
Grand Theft Auto, like the AAA titles that make more money than some of the biggest Hollywood movies. Yeah. You know, and so I don't think that's unreasonable, but that's not necessarily. I mean, I don't know. I think out of all the points I read, that was probably the most, the only one I couldn't get behind fully. Yeah. I think the rest of it, they have some good points, and I think a strike's inevitable at this point in time. Yeah. The video game industry has not had to deal with this yet. 10 years ago, these big blockbuster games were just starting to get off the ground. Before that, I mean, Mario, there was no voiceover work in Mario. No. I mean, you maybe had a few noises and whatnot as you got into the Nintendo 64 was what it was. That was. But before that, there was no need for it. So the studios have never had to deal with this. This is a whole new area for them. I mean, 10 years is not a long time. We'll say 20 years just to be generous. Yeah. Still not a long time in establishing precedent. It's really not. For your voice actors. And again, up till now, it's all been about their programmers who can design the best games. The designers, the graphic artists, you know, all those people. And so that's I don't know, I can't quite get behind that piece of it necessarily, although I do appreciate that they're asking for it like after a certain mark when the game goes profitable and that kind of thing. So that's okay. And you know, everybody wants more money, and I get that. Some of the things I could totally get behind, though, is that they're asking for better working conditions. And one of the things that was brought up that I didn't know about is that sometimes these voice actors are asked to basically perform stunts on set. and utilize their bodies. So they're not necessarily just tucked away in a studio.
Yeah.
You know, they're asked to kind of move like the character or perform combat scenes, because it's really tough to capture realistic voice sometimes. If I'm yelling at you while I'm supposed to be like beating the crap out of you or something, you know, that might not come across as real unless I'm kind of doing it. Well, that presents some serious safety issues, and they to this point, these people do not get stunt coordinators on set.
And I think that actually surprised me. I'm surprised that has not come up before as just a simple safety issue. And I think a lot of it, so the motion capture suits.
Yep.
I think I was reading they're starting to use motion capture suits, so they want the fighting.
Yep.
And again, I mean, a stunt coordinator would be the least of the things they need.
Oh, I know.
Let's talk about stunt guys.
Yep.
For some of the more violent scenes. That's been going on since the beginning of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Why video games don't seem to see the need to set it up, I don't know.
I mean, that's a total standard for any studio production, you know, so I think that's a totally reasonable request. One of the other things that came up that I thought was interesting, and I'm also not sure about, was the fining actors for not being attentive kind of thing.
That was, I mean, yeah, that was a little weird. Spell it out. What are the actors not doing that you think they're being inattentive about? You know, are they mumbling their lines while they're checking their cell phone? Yes. I could see you being a little
I think that deserves a fine.
Yeah.
You know, because it's wasting everybody's time.
But if they tell you they need a 5-minute break to go get a glass of water, and they get into a conversation with someone on the way back, I mean, we've all done that.
Yeah. It needs to be clearly defined. So they're saying, like, you know, $2,500 could be fined if you're unattentive. But what does that mean? You know, am I like, you know, thirsty and I need to go get a glass of water, like you said, or, you know, are the directors chit-chatting and, you know, I like tweet about how awesome this film is, and all of a sudden, or this video game is, you know, and all of a sudden I'm unattentive.
Fine. Yeah.
I was tweeting about how cool this all is while you guys are chit-chatting, you know, so that's kind of not cool.
The other one that was really bizarre was being able to fine SAG for not submitting actors for auditions.
That I don't get.
Which is, I think, has a lot to do with, I think they know they're on the verge of a strike, and we're hoping if they could get that in under the table, the guild would have no recourse to not send actors over. Because right now, I mean, forget even a strike. I can just decide as an agent, okay, well, I don't like your working conditions. I'm not sending the 10 people I have over to audition for you.
You know.
And then you've got nothing. So it's almost a strike without being a strike.
It is. And, you know, as somebody who's on both sides of the camera routinely, you know, I kind of get where the two sides are coming from a little bit, but honestly, I'm really much more of a champion for the actors in this whole situation.
I agree. Based on, at least based on how it was laid out, especially by Wil Wheaton, did a great job of spelling out why he signed the petition. Yeah,
and Wil Wheaton's one of the main voices behind this. I'll have a link to his blog about this whole situation in the description, so check that out. You know, I think it's a big deal. It's a big issue. One of the other things that's kind of interesting about the whole situation, though, is this is very telling of how important video games are now. I mean, this wouldn't even be a discussion 10 years ago, right? Like you'd have like little blips of voice acting here and there, whatever. Like, but now these are full-scale productions that sell millions of copies. It's so ingrained in our culture, and it you know, I mean, the geeks are taking over a little bit.
I think they've taken over.
I think, yeah, it's not even a progressive thing. It's just
they're here and they're here to stay.
Yeah.
And now video games, again, you can't go back to the old Marios. You know, people will play them for an hour, but you have to have your voice actors. You have to have your motion capture.
Yep. Because
people just expect better the next time around.
Yeah. It's an important piece in the wheel, and, you know, if these people are not being taken care of, that you're going to lose the talent. You know, people just won't go out anymore. And, you know, as an agent, like forget all this garbage about suing SAG or whatever for not sending people out. I, as an agent, will just tell you, no, like, this is not a good deal. I'm not working with you guys anymore. Yeah. My people aren't going. And, you know, so I generally am really behind the actors on this overall. I think some some things are a little not here or there. I think let's talk about the real issues first before the money. You know what I mean? And make the money a secondary thing. I think we'll get a lot more progress that way.
I think they'll get a lot more support from the gaming community. Again, if the gaming community thinks actors are just being babies and want more money,
right,
they will not be as supportive.
Yeah, and that's a perception about a lot of actors, like, oh, boo-hoo, I didn't get, my bowl of only yellow M&Ms on set, so now I'm not working. I'll never do this again. It's horrible. It's unacceptable working conditions. I'm suing you.
Yeah, and that's how people have come to view actors, especially, we already know the A-listers are going to get that treatment. It's the B-listers we expect that from, the ones who haven't quite fully made it yet, but they think they're...
Yeah. And a lot of voice actors too, like we do get some AAA talent in games these days. Like, you get a Kiefer Sutherland or a Kevin Spacey in Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Things like that happen. But, a lot of voice acting in games, I mean, these are not really like famous people that are, rolling around in Bentleys. These are working actors. And so, they show up to set, they do a day's worth of work, and they hope they've got another day's worth of work behind that. So anything we can do for these guys, I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, I would agree.
So that's that.
And I think it's a big topic, and I think we're going to hear more about it, especially with Christmas coming up and Christmas game releases coming up.
Yeah. So hopefully we can get these guys all talking. We can get the studios to actually meet with the actors, and everybody will chat a little bit, and as gamers, we don't suffer and, lose out on these huge titles we're all waiting for, or at the very least, I guess, delayed games, becoming a situation. So hopefully we can resolve all this. So be sure to check out the post from Wil Wheaton in the description below, as I mentioned. And that, I think, is about everything that we had for this week. Yeah,
I think so. And next week we are definitely talking about Supernatural, which premieres on Friday.
Hot.
I cannot wait.
I still need to watch season 10.
They released it. I don't know what you're waiting for.
I'm a slacker. I haven't bought the DVD, so but I'm waiting on Netflix. I'm that guy. So.
Oh well. Yeah. I'll be here with all my news because it is set to record on my DVR.
All right. Spoilers incoming. So.
Oh yes.
Spoilers incoming. Cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is, of course, Sean Caspian, and
I'm Sandra D. And thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Remember to subscribe, like, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about anything we talked about today or anything else going on in your geek world. So thank you so much, and Geek spot, party time, excellent. Woo, 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 woo. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.